Hey folks, most retirees don't even notice this is happening, but their world is quietly shrinking. There's no big moment where everything just changes. It happens slowly, it happens quietly. A little less joy here, a little more hesitation there, and one day you look around and think, my life feels smaller, but I don't know why or when it happened. And the truth is, it didn't happen all at once. It happened through hundreds of tiny little adjustments you didn't even realize you were making. You stop doing this, you delay that, you put some things off. And slowly your life becomes smaller in ways you never even intended. So today we're talking about 5 things that quietly shrink your retirement. Not because you did anything wrong, but because no one teaches you how to protect the quality of your life once that paycheck stops. And folks, if you're already retired, this may help you expand your life again. And if you're still in the planning stages for retirement, this might actually save you years of frustration. But before we jump into the 5 things, I want to say something here. Retirement, it's not a failure if it feels different. Nobody hands you a roadmap for this stage of your life. Nobody prepares you for the emotional side, the identity shift, the loss of structure, the quiet moments that feel heavy. Most retirees, they tell me the same thing. I thought instantly I'd feel free, but instead I feel unanchored. I'm just floating around out there. And folks, that's normal. You're not imagining it. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just adjusting to a completely new way of living life after 30 or 40 years of routine. So as we go through these 5 things, don't hear them as criticism. Hear them as awareness. Because once you can see what's shrinking in your world, you can start expanding it again. Hey, welcome back. By the way, my name is Brian, and on this channel we talk about real retirement. Not the brochure version, not the fantasy version, but the actual day-to-day experience people live once work ends. So if you want clarity instead of stress, you want a retirement that feels like yours, folks, you're in the right place. This first one is something most retirees, they don't even notice at first. Your world's slowly getting smaller. Work gave you built-in social contact, built-in routines, built-in reasons to leave the house in the morning. And when that disappears, it's easy to fall into a pattern of staying home more, doing less, and slowly withdrawing. Not because you're antisocial, but because life becomes quieter. And here's the tricky part. It doesn't feel like a problem at first. It feels comfortable. It feels peaceful. Shoot, it feels like the break that you finally earned. But comfort has a way of turning into isolation if you're not careful. A shrinking world leads to shrinking energy, shrinking confidence, shrinking joy. You start saying things like, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe when I feel more up to it. And before you know it, folks, the world outside your front door feels bigger than it used to. And the world inside your 4 walls feels so much smaller. Retirement, it doesn't expand on its own. You've got to nudge it open. Another thing that creeps in is this, safety mode, living in safety mode. And most retirees don't even realize they're in it. Safety mode's normal at first. It really is. You retire, the income changes, and you start to tighten up. You're careful. You're cautious. You're actually protective. And honestly, folks, that's normal. You spent decades building your savings. Of course you want to protect it. But responsibility can quietly turn into restriction. You can stay in safety mode too long. Life stops growing. And you stop trying new things. You stop exploring. You stop spending on small joys. You stop saying yes to new experiences. And slowly, retirement becomes a maintenance project instead of a life. You start managing your days instead of living them. Folks, you start preserving your money instead of enjoying it. You start avoiding risk instead of embracing possibility. Folks, I understand safety matters. It really does. But if that's all you do, you stop living. Here's another thing that creeps in. Losing direction. Because, work gave you direction. You had deadlines. You had goals you had to meet. You hit milestones. Retirement removes all of that overnight. And without something to move forward to, even something small, Monday feels like Wednesday. Wednesday feels like Sunday. And before you know it, weeks are just gone. You wake up, you do a few things, you pass the time, but there's no pull anymore. And when there's no pull, life shrinks. And it's not like you're doing anything wrong. Folks, humans need momentum. We need something to look forward to. We need a reason to get up and say, hey, today matters. Purpose doesn't have to be big. It just has to be yours. This next one is kind of sneaky because it doesn't feel like a big deal at first. You know, you've got a cluttered room. You've got a bill you've been meaning to call about. You've got a health issue you keep putting off. You got a project you never finish. You know, individually, these are nothing. But together they create a low-grade heaviness that makes life feel harder than it needs to be. And that heaviness steals more from you than you realize. It steals your motivation. It steals your energy. It steals your confidence. And when those things go, your world shrinks right along with them. You go fewer places. You avoid new things. You shrink your world to avoid stress. Small problems don't ruin retirement, but they quietly compress it. Folks, it's not the big problems that wear you down in retirement. It's the small ones that you keep stepping over every day. This last one might be the quietest of all. It's the waiting for the right time. Oh, I'll do that next month. I will travel when things settle down. I'll start that hobby when I feel more motivated. Here's the kicker. We'll visit the kids when things are better. But here's the truth. Retirees tell me this all the time. Things never settle down, folks. There's always something going on. There's a bill, there's a repair, there's a worry. You got a reason to wait? Motivation doesn't magically appear, and the longer you wait, the smaller your life becomes. You know, retirement isn't a waiting room. It's not a rehearsal. It's not a warm-up either. Folks, this is the chapter. This is the moment. This is the life you've worked decades to reach. So let me bring this together. Retirement doesn't shrink overnight. It happens quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. But the good news is this. Every one of these things can be reversed. You can reopen your world. You can step out of safety mode. You can rediscover direction. You can clear the small things weighing you down. You can choose now instead of later. Retirement doesn't need to be bigger or louder or busier. It just needs to feel like your life again. And if your life has started to feel smaller, folks, you're not behind. You're not late. You're not even stuck. You're just ready for the next chapter to begin. The one that you get to shape on purpose. So if this video struck a chord with you, tell me in the comments, which one of these showed up in your retirement? I read every comment. And if you want calm, practical guidance for real-life retirement, please share, like, and subscribe to the channel. Folks, I want to thank you for spending some of your day with me here today. You all stay steady, and I'll see you in the next one.